You want music? Like,
I
we're live
mean,
with Nikki Gandhi right now. Like, she's an amazing new superstar on the scene with Creo. She used to work at a site network or a big site, I guess. Amazing. Probably have you ever done a personality test?
I think I'm like an
You're
ISTJ.
not a I. You did that so wrong.
I'm pretty sure I am
I
an
heard the
introvert.
first letter and it's I have like
I
I
am an
already am
100% introvert.
okay.
If you were to
We'll
find me
discuss that later.
outside of work, I would probably just be in a cocoon, not talking to anybody.
Me too, for the most part, but I'm an ENFP
Oh,
slash
what is
P.
that?
Empath, intuitive, feelings, and prospecting, and then turbulent.
Oh, you know what? I need to do one
Yeah,
since my
I'll send you the same one I
life.
did, so I want to see what you get. Well, anyways, whatever she rates, Nikki's awesome, superstar, and recently got introduced to you since you joined Creo, but I guess you've been like Guru Nation follower
Totally.
for a while,
Yeah. You're
so it's
like
good.
you're you're talking, you're spewing what every coordinator, site personnel wants to hear and know, and it gets us through the day back when I was a coordinator.
I
So,
love my CRC fam, especially the ones that work for
love
me directly.
it.
Lana, Grecia, Luis, Katie. Shout out to them for putting up with all my stuff constantly. But listen, Nikki, we're here to talk about how sites choose vendors.
Mhm.
Now, some vendors are forced upon us. We have no
Right.
choice. Shout out to the sponsors out there that do that. And then some vendors, sites voluntarily choose. I had
Mhm.
someone today text me, listen, I'm not making this up. I can't identify this person. They're cool though. It's a site owner. Do you know, just random text? Do you know? Hold on. This is good.
Nothing.
Do you know any good software developers? This is a site owner asking me. They have no business doing this, right? Need one to create a system for my site. What are you trying to do? A little bit of everything in one. And then I reply, you would love this. So like Creo with a smiley face. And
Mhm.
she said, yeah, but I want it like more custom. I'm a little bit picky. Like these site owners, they're not developers and they're looking to do stuff. Like that means, Nikki, there's a huge need. That means you're in the right place because there's a huge demand for what you
Mhm.
guys do.
Yeah.
And what I love about Creo is you guys always have your ear to the street. So when people say stuff like this,
Mhm.
you want to hear because you want to be the one to create that. Why would a
Yes.
site go hire a software developer? All right, but this is reality, Nikki, and it's today. I didn't save this text for this stream. It just happened.
Maybe they wanna be a Creo competitor soon.
I don't think so. I think they want to run their site more effectively.
Okay. Well, I can't blame them for that.
I can't either. So this is kind of what the topic is today: vendor
Yeah.
selection. I have
Okay.
horror
I'm
stories about when I got started, 05, 06. I was looking for any vendor I could find, off the shelf stuff. I remember I went to Staples and bought My Mail List. There was this CD-ROM. I'm that old, called My Mail List, to
Mhm.
make it my patient database. Like I literally made my own database just off the shelf from Staples. It was meant
Nice.
for businesses to keep their customers in there. So I use it for patients. Probably not
Nice.
HIPAA compliant, but it never left my computer. So that's how it was back in the day.
That's
What
very
about
OG.
you? That's OG. That's
That's
OG.
very OG. I have, in my experience at the site network, I think we touched on this last time, I used Creo as our database, as our patient database. So with different lead sources or patient sources, right? They can come from an EMR, they can come from any kind of campaign, a local campaign, community engagement, anything. And then we would use Creo's recruitment module as our patient database. So that is how, or you can go, I mean, before that it was paper, but once Creo entered my life, it was a lot better.
And then the Creo recruitment portal is something
Mhm.
relatively new. Like it takes the database to all another level, really, with integrations and all that stuff.
It does with our recruitment API can make this process a lot easier. It can reduce so much site staff burden, especially the manual labor that transfer from one source to the Creo recruitment module. So the recruitment API is wonderful. It's relatively new, but it's been around. It's been around for maybe a few years, I want to say.
So
Um,
clearly, the lowest hanging fruit, the one common thread we both have from our sites, like me back in the day, you more
mhm,
recently, was looking for a patient database tool. But like, there's horror stories of sites looking for vendors of all sorts, right?
yeah,
There's
yeah.
vendors, and this is why Creo created the partner portal. What do you guys call it exactly?
Partners program, and for Creo users, a new resource called the Partner Directory and Help Center. So, what I want to jump into that, but I want to know how you go about in today's day finding a vendor
Uh, I'm a
and
little
even
unique
for
now. I'm
yeah,
unique now. So
mm-hmm,
there's two me's. There's me before YouTube, which is
mm-hmm.
maybe more,
Pre
I mean,
YouTube.
it's a long time ago too. And then there's me now, like with vendors approaching me. And so I get to test things
Mhm.
out before other people.
Yeah.
So I'm not a fair, like,
Mhm.
analysis of this, I guess, or case
Mhm.
study. But
Mhm.
back in the day, I mean, there was no vendor. LinkedIn was not thriving. I think a lot of sites just get hit up on LinkedIn by tech vendors because all my tech homies that I talk to, that's their main weapon. It's like, let me get on LinkedIn and just
Mhm.
blast a bunch of coordinators. And
Yeah.
most of the coordinators don't even care. They're just trying to go home after
Yeah,
a days of work.
exactly.
But
Yeah.
the site owners, the site owners get pitched, and I
Mhm.
think that's like the key is like finding a site director or a site owner. But then what do all the site owners say? Well, I need to ask my coordinators if they're on board. So it's
Yeah,
like a never-ending like loop of like things not going to get done until
right,
there's like a huge urgency at the site to
right,
find an immediate vendor, and then usually they rush to find the first one that's reasonable, and it's
right.
not always the best one.
Mhm, mhm,
That's what I
and
think.
the key, I think, out of what you just said is they go back and they ask the coordinators, right?
Hmm.
And so it would be great coordinators could have that at their fingertips, at least a list of, vendors that can integrate with their CTMS to make everything just a little bit easier and also be able to have that autonomy, at least to present to their CTM or to their site owner and this is, the recruitment vendor that I want to go with. And on top of that, they can integrate with Creo. So it'll reduce our, recruitment workflow burdens, and especially with the recruitment API. It can be any type of vendor. And maybe they, even for coordinators, I know I didn't know that all these services even existed before in the
Yeah,
partner directory. We have so much more than just recruitment, but sometimes recruitment just first comes to mind because that's such a pressing, issue
that's
at
the
site.
most like offense thing.
Yeah.
Like sites like to spend money on things that will bring money back right away. They don't like defensive things necessarily, like,
Yeah.
oh, help us find a quality vendor or
Mhm.
quality control. I mean, they'll like the smart sites will do that, but
Mhm.
most of the sites, the easiest sell
Mhm.
is how do we make more money? Like how
Yeah.
how do we increase revenue?
Yeah.
Like that's the
And
easiest sell for most
yeah.
sites.
Yeah, absolutely. And it takes, like you just gave the example of a, quality assurance, a vendor of, in that realm. But I think for sites to even have a quality assurance department, that's a different stage, right, of growth that a site might get to. If you're building out your site with certain departments, if you have a recruitment department, right? If it's not just your coordinators that are recruiting, that's a whole nother level of growth. And it shows, the different layers of site growth and that, there's different vendors needed at different stages of growth. Would you
How
agree with
did
that?
you? Because yes, I do. I think we need to actually educate sites too on like that there are options and they shouldn't just go for
Yes.
that comes across their table because it checks off their something on their to-do list. I know a
Right.
lot of sites I used to operate that way too. Like, well, I really need like back in the day there was this tool called Grasshopper where it was like multiple lines. Do you remember this?
Yeah, yes.
It's not
Yeah.
even research. I was just like looking for anything to help us get more efficient. Now Creo has its own voice over internet protocol. Like, I mean, I know I'm sponsored by Creo, but I love Creo. Like, you guys thought of almost everything. I would eventually like to see like AI being integrated and helping with QA stuff. But I know Ray's got like a lot of
It's
things he's planning.
coming. It's
It's all coming.
things are coming.
But like you're more recently like you have to also when you worked at the site
Mhm,
find vendors, right? So beyond like patient recruitment, like I have an example. My nurse practitioner really wants, even though he's a sub I, he wanted his own research malpractice, and it was really tough to find.
mhm,
There's no startups that like approached me and out of the blue and said, "Hey, we offer this." So I had to like ping a few site owners that I know.
mhm.
Brad was
Exactly.
one of them. Brad gave me a good vendor and now we work with them. So it's like
Yeah.
it's word of mouth as well. And if you are well connected, there are site owners that are insular and don't really network outside.
Mhm,
Like you were saying, introvert.
mhm,
So
mhm.
I mean, how did you do it at your site before
I
when you
would
were actually in
say
charge of this?
I took a similar approach, and, there were sites of, I would say, a similar in the similar stage of growth that we were, and and there was a certain cohort that, of 5 sites that I would reach out to their, recruitment manager and say, "Hey, how are you guys doing this?" I think I only wanted to listen to another site, right? I didn't after how much sites
Mm,
are being pushed by sponsors, sponsors are going to, like you said, push different vendors all the time. You want there is a reason that sites, have that trust in other sites only, right? So
yeah.
I would definitely go to other sites in the cohort and say, how do you like working with them? Did they produce, the enrollment, help you produce the enrollment numbers that you're looking for? What's their therapeutic area, expertise? Where does that lie? I think all of that is super relevant. And it would always just be another site network, that I would want to hear from.
Mm,
And then I also, later, let's say you pick a few, you work with a few, and then you also need to have the ability to evaluate, their performance and what they generated for you, whether you want to, repeat doing business with
continue.
them.
Who did
Yeah,
that at your site? Was that you?
that was me. Yeah.
That was you. So
Yeah.
you not only selected, but you monitored the outcomes.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And so our recruitment API is that's one thing that it really helps with is that vendors, whatever patients they send in, they will be tagged automatically as the originator for that lead, right? The vendor will be tagged
I
as the
see.
originator of that lead. So
Oh,
then
so
you
you
can
can have
go.
multiple recruitment. Like you can
Yeah.
have. I'm about to announce Patient Ace. Who we're part of, by the way.
Mhm.
Thank you, Korea partners. But we can also use like there is another one that we use that sponsors pay for. So we're like, why
Mhm.
not? It's free patient
Mhm.
leads. That will also integrate in theory, right? And then
Mhm.
so we can see where the lead came from.
Mhm. If there's yes, so there's a specific token, right, that the vendor, that the Creo partner will have, and any patient sent in via, using that token will be tagged. So patient ACE, you
Hmm.
can go back and use Creo. Creo has like this reporting feature where you can see how many leads patient ACE, has sent in, what was the outcome, did they screen fail, did they, are they enrolled, and you can then, use that to evaluate whether you want to work with the vendor again. And
Yeah,
you also, in our partner directory in the help center, which is, showcasing all of the Creo partners, there's user reviews that you can leave. So any Creo user can leave a review, rate it, 0 out of 5 stars. And that's something, that I I would have used very much in order to, take a calculated decision on, whether I want to work with a vendor. What are other sites saying about it? Right? Did they
Yeah.
have a good experience? I think that's super important. So that's a great feature of the partner directory.
Yeah. Cassandra, shout out to you, by the way. That's another ENFP, I think, but she might not be exactly those letters.
Yeah.
Um, and then those patient tags are super useful on both sides. Thank you,
Awesome.
LinkedIn user. Identify yourself. Uh,
It's not a
Nikki,
bot, it's real.
this topic goes deep because listen, all right, check it out. There, word of mouth, we just talked about, right? You find a colleague. I go to Brad a lot. I go to a few others that don't want to be
Mhm.
named. And we share like idea. Okay, I'm using this. What are you using for this? I remember I asked Brad the other day, what are you using to track your upcoming studies? Like not the studies you have,
Mm.
because I know Creo does it, but I don't want to pay for every study and then we don't get it. Like
Mhm.
so, I'm like, what do you use before you know you have it?
Mhm.
But like your pipeline must be full. Like mine's like at 8 right now. Yours, I can't imagine what yours is
Mhm.
with your site. What do you use? And he gave me like some off the shelf thing that he kind of made like a custom Excel,
Mhm.
thing. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'll wait for a vendor to come out with this. But there's word of mouth.
Mhm.
I found that investigator meetings are often this incubator of like sites talking to each other.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you use for this? What do you use for that?
Mhm.
And but here's the thing. This is why I think what you guys are doing is important. I've had sites tell me because of Patient Ace, right? So full disclosure, I'm a co-founder of Patient Ace. I'll be pushing it a lot soon. It's filled my schedule up at Yuma Clinical Trials. I've had people tell me, "Hey, Patient Ace has been working great for us. When are you going public with it?" I said, "Soon. Don't worry. We're gonna go soon." They're like, "Damn, I wish you weren't. No more sites in my market, please."
Mhm.
Like, so there is word of mouth
Mhm.
until a certain point where that site will no longer recommend whatever tool they're using because it's either
Right.
too good or like they consider it like their secret weapon.
That's
So
that's called gatekeeping in this day and
gatekeeping, there you go, gatekeeping.
Yes.
Yeah. So that
Yeah.
like there is a need for this. Like people might be saying, "Well, Nikki, Dan, that's good. Like Creo's doing this," but sites are already sharing. Well, they are to
Yeah.
an extent,
Mhm.
but then they
Mhm.
don't anymore.
Right. Right. That's
This is that
absolutely.
last mile.
Yeah, yeah. And when people catch on, yeah, and you kind of I get that. It's almost like when people have babysitters, like really good babysitters, and they're not
Uh-huh.
gonna share the name, that used to be me. But this is totally yes, when the gatekeeping starts, that kind of, that's when this partner directory comes in handy, right? Because you can there's vendors of all, popularity and shapes and sizes, I would say. So, you can go with ones that you've heard of that are very popular, or there's new ones like Patient Ace, right? And they all offer, something unique, and that's different for each site, right? So each site may have, like we were talking about, its own needs specifically. So I think that's also the beauty of the partner directory, is that it has all different types of vendors within one category, right? So within recruitment, it can be, one like Patient Ace, or it can be one like Study Kick that's been around for a while. So all different ranges.
Yep, yep. And yeah, the gatekeeping is real at certain points. Like even though like sites at the end of the day are business owners. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of like competitive juices flowing,
Mm-hmm.
and if somebody has something that they deem to be a competitive advantage and it's
Mm-hmm.
making them look like an outlier to a sponsor, like, hey, this
Mm-hmm.
site's really good,
Mm-hmm.
there is, and in fairness to them, I'm not against gatekeeping necessarily, but
Mhm.
you're a business owner. Like, your
Yeah,
first job is to your company, not to other companies, right? It's
right,
yours.
absolutely.
Um, I don't believe in that as a long term strategy, gatekeeping, but I can understand why it's
Yeah,
done. So this
Absolutely.
I equate this to maybe like the last mile of like Amazon delivery. Like
Yeah.
they can get the shipment, 95% of the way there. It's that last mile. You're like, yeah, we need the USPS for this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
Kyle from Trially. That's why you're not showing up. Maybe Nikki blocked you. I don't know. Is that
What?
the case? No?
No.
Do you know who this person is?
Yes, of course. Hi,
Oh,
Kyle
okay. So
from
no
Trial.
block on
Kylie
Nikki.
is one
No
of our
block on.
I don't know
Okay.
why, but
Nikki
Kyle,
doesn't
yes.
block people.
No, I don't. Triley is one of our partners in
Ah,
our
okay. What do
category.
they
So
do?
so they're a recruitment vendor.
Trially, Kyle.
Yes.
Man,
Yes.
well, looking forward to competing. Patient Ace is coming out. I don't know if they work directly for sites or sponsors or what.
Sites. So the partner directory right now just is site service vendors only.
Okay, okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Ah, okay, okay. One of the things, Nikki, Ray kept saying to me that resonated is we are not and will never be in the site services space. So,
Hmm.
like, back to Amazon analogy, Amazon would do something that some considered shady, but I respect as business. They would see what products are selling well
Hmm.
because they have all the algos, and then they would just white label something of their own in that category and basically kill the competition in whatever category that was.
Hmm.
Right? They've been accused of that, and for those that may be thinking more sinister things, like from what I understand, Creo's not in that business of competing with vendors or creating like site services. Ray keeps bringing this up, so I think
Hmm.
that's like embedded in your company culture.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Creo is and started always as site powered, a site powered company, one that, empowers sites. And I think that that is what I definitely would not have even chose Creo if it weren't for that, in their inherent empowerment for sites.
Yeah.
I come from a site. That is truly who I am. I'm always going to, you know, be do whatever I can, my personal agenda to ensure sites continue to be empowered. So that is certainly, what Creo is and continues to do. And also just by this partner directory, we're just creating, we want to support sites in all aspects and facets of, their business, right? So this is one in terms of, independent third party vendors, just to support this partner directory essentially simplifies and streamlines the vendor identification process, connection process, for sites. So just another value add for our users.
Now, for curiosity's sake, I'm actually just logged in. Creo Partners directory,
Hmm.
and I see a few categories. So we talked about patient recruitment. That's clearly
Hmm.
the low hanging fruit. I mean, on this live stream alone,
Hmm.
like four different companies were mentioned, and that's probably just the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
That's an obvious one. But
Hmm.
there's other things on here,
Hmm.
a little less obvious, and I want this conversation to kind of shift into what you're seeing because Nikki, I mean, first of all, hats off to you and the Creo team. You guys travel really well. You guys go to but just about every conference. Your
Hmm.
team is there in the trenches, interacting with sites. Besides recruitment, which is the obvious, like you don't even need to work in this industry more than a day to understand that's important need for sites.
Yep.
What else is there?
We have a site operations category. So that's a parent category, right? So within that, we have contract and billing services, right? We have EDC entry services, e-reg management services. So the site operations can range, from all these different types of support, which I encourage, all Creo users to go in and look at. Another category is education and training. So within there, I think, I don't think anyone is immune to the rapid turnover in our industry, right? Of coordinators, of just site personnel. So the important curriculums, the ones that truly, you know, educate the clinical research, personnel, not just a general, clinical space or like a biology, that was my degree, but that's not even going to scratch the surface of what is truly needed from site personnel. So that we have education training category, so there's different resources in there, right, that sites can use to educate their site personnel. There's also analytics, so there's site intelligence reporting from site search. So there's a lot of different unique categories in here that you may not, right? Sites may not have known are even offerings and services.
Yeah.
And then there's some that are, very familiar. So definitely a range.
Yeah. This would have been good, and I know it's brand new and you're gonna add more vendors. We actually have a few more
Yeah.
companies I submitted to you. It'll become more of a like robust ecosystem shortly, and this would have been super helpful for me back in the day. Like I don't think sites know how easy it is that they have it now. When I
Mm-hmm.
came up, back in my day, it was bad. Like Staples was my Creo
Mm-hmm.
partners program. I would go to
Mm-hmm.
Staples and look at the shelf and see what's there. That was
Mm-hmm.
my literally like what I did.
Yeah.
Then I used the internet, or like what are other industries using for this, and I would try to figure out a way to make it
Yeah.
work for my site.
Yeah.
I think this QA quality assurance aspect
Mm-hmm.
is very much needed. I don't see vendors in this space at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
I see individual consultants. You're gonna put like individual people in there? Like if there's a consultant that does QA,
Yeah.
would you put them in?
Sure. Yeah. We're
Ah, okay.
open we're open to, talking to any kind of service, right? That would
Wow,
be
okay.
relevant to sites. So, yeah, open to
Wow, wow.
any. And we're like you said, we're continuing to expand. We'll have different parent categories, different subcategories. Maybe those will branch out. But yeah, as this rolls out a little, for a longer period of time, you'll see it evolve and just expand.
Are you the one in charge of this partners program, more or
Yeah.
less?
Mhm. Yep, this
Wow,
is
so
my
that's all
baby.
you. This is your
Yes,
baby.
that's my baby, yes.
Wait,
So
was it your idea or
no,
like
no,
a
this
collaboration?
is, like, Raymond's brainchild,
Okay.
essentially, and I'm just bringing it into the world.
Okay,
But
okay.
as soon as I heard about this, during my interviews with Creo, I was like, "This is perfect. This is what I would," this is a perfect thing for me because, A, it's close to my heart. I've had, I've experienced the pain point of finding vendors and just trying to even reach any site goal, needing support, but being on a time crunch. So this really spoke to me. So I think I'm really excited to be, managing this initiative.
Alicia, shout out to you. Alicia, contact Nikki right now and become the first human non-company partner in there. Just do it. Alicia's got a bunch of stuff she offers sites. I'm telling you,
Awesome.
Nikki. I vouch for her to be in there.
Great. I'd love to hear.
I didn't
I'd
know
love
you guys open it up to individuals. It's gonna be game over for you, Nikki. You're gonna get flooded. You're gonna have to curate this though. You can reach out to me. I'll help you curate.
Thanks.
Uh, what else do sites need from your traveling endeavors? You're everywhere. You were at ACRP.
Yeah.
Do you like doing that? Just
I
off
love
topic a
it.
little.
I love conferences.
Do you
I
ever
love
wish you didn't have to go? Just be honest.
no. I love conferences. I think that they make for the best, the strongest impressions. That's where I connect the best with, any, whether it's a vendor, a sponsor, CRO, client. I think face to face in person is always so much more valuable.
Okay, so
What
give
about you?
me.
You're everywhere.
Nah, I don't go to conferences anymore. That last
What?
one with ACRP was the last SOS thing I will go to. I
Okay.
vouch. I vouch. I will stand by that statement. You can get carried away with these conferences. Would you ever put conferences in the partners program?
Potentially depends like
We got a
what
good one. SOS.
well, yes, yes, but
Okay.
in terms of, I mean, how would that be for sites, right? Like
All
service-wise.
the sites ones, like, hey, we have, like, let's take Save Our Sites. I mean,
Can
Sites
you
looking for conference. I get asked a lot, what
I
conferences
think
should I go to?
that could be a resource in education and
Education.
staffing,
There you
maybe,
go.
or
Save our
education.
sites. We'll put save our sites in the
Yeah.
education one. Um, there's so many places this can go to. Okay,
Mhm,
from all the conferences you go to, what are some key needs of sites
mhm.
that you have not seen addressed very well thus far by any
Hmm.
vendor?
I think that's a good question. There's so much, I think, but I think a lot of these conferences are getting, and I'm saying this, right? But I think they're getting very vendor heavy, tech heavy, and I think that it's expanding every day, every year, right? So I think that it's come a long way. From when I was a coordinator, I think the quality assurance, you know,
Yeah.
thing is very interesting that you bring up, and I think that definitely can have some more support, definitely. I'm trying to think of other things.
Quality assurance super that's going to be the toughest
Yeah.
one too.
Yeah,
I
that
think
is.
that will start with the individuals. I think there'll
Mhm.
be once we open this
Yeah.
up to individual, you're gonna have a bunch of people like they travel to
Mhm.
sites. I actually got asked the other day by my own sub by because I told him we're becoming a high enroller in a few studies,
Mhm.
and he
Mhm.
was like, "Do you know any people that travel to sites and how much they
Mhm.
charge to do like there's no companies that do that yet."
Right.
So I
I
was
have
like, "Yeah, I know a few
I just talked to a company this morning about that.
that
So
does
stay
that."
tuned. Similar in
Okay.
the quality assurance department. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for that. But I just thought of another one. I would say, how do I say this? Investigator relations. I think that
Oh, like
one is,
finding doctors in the community.
yeah, yeah, and sources of,
That's humanized again. That's Alicia
yeah,
right here. Like I
hmm,
think a lot of these harder ones
yeah,
that are less obvious for how to automate. Like
hmm,
recruitment's pretty simple to automate, but if you
hmm,
guys remember back in the day, you're too young, Nikki. Me, back in the day, we had people like Alicia going to
hmm,
sites helping them recruit. Like I would
hmm,
look for
yeah,
humans before patient A. As a matter of fact,
hmm,
I think that's one of the things Alicia does also is like help sites
hmm,
recruit. Like,
hmm,
but a lot of that's been automated just because the demand was so strong and the need was so obvious. But like
hmm,
there's lesser obvious things that are costlier that
hmm.
are more difficult to scale, like quality control, quality
Mhm, mhm,
assurance, investigator outreach. Those
mhm.
things are I don't
Exactly.
see them being automated anytime soon.
You
So a
never
lot of these
know. You
that's
never know.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, sometimes we wouldn't have even like, recruitment started out as, like, a human thing,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
So you never know. I think that, this we're evolving so quickly with technology. I'm sure there's a way to automate it.
Well, that's my
And
point. It's always humans first doing
mhm,
it,
it is.
and
Yeah.
then like the smarter ones figure out, okay, what have I done? Let's
Mhm.
break this down to first principle. How can I scale this? And
Yeah.
then technologies, like the tools are there.
Yeah.
You just gotta put them together. So eventually it will be. But I think
Yes.
humans lead the way forward. So for these like underexplored verticals that
Mhm,
Creo
mhm,
maybe doesn't have enough of a partners
mhm,
program yet, or maybe the category doesn't even exist,
mhm.
humans will lead the way, Nikki. I'm team human.
I think everyone's team human, but I
Not
think that
everyone. No, no.
it just automating things just comes, you need humans first. Let's not
Hmm.
ignore that fact, right? I think we both agree that you need humans sometimes first, unless the idea, hatches within some developer's head. But
If you're a
there,
team human, drop a comment right now. I'm team human. Proudly will be.
I'm team human.
Yeah,
But
you are.
I'm for automation too. But yeah, I think like you said, with all the different types of vendors, we're open to, I'm open to talking to different vendors, seeing if their, services are relevant and really going to, they may be relevant, but they have to, you know, streamline or make the Creo user's journey easier, you know? So if that can be done, then definitely we're open to talking and see how we
I
can
like that.
integrate.
I
But they
actually
have
love
what the partner directory is for and partners program.
I love that. So you guys are not. again, not trying to compete with all these things or fill the void. Your mission is to make the Creo user life easier.
Yes.
Period. Even if it
Yes,
doesn't involve using Creo stuff.
absolutely.
I like
Yes.
that.
Yeah. We also have Creo Connect. Do you know about Creo Connect?
I feel like I should.
That is our
Uh
that is our marketplace, or
yes, yes. I'm on
and
there.
yes, and so sites can any Creo site can create a profile, and there's, different, you can list your investigators, their bios, you can list your past, study experience, and, your enrollment numbers if you want to. It's all, sites can choose the information that they would like to, right? As
Yeah.
always, just like you would, it's like a mini feasibility, an existing floating feasibility for, sponsors and CROs to use in their site selection journey.
Yeah, that's genius. This podcast live got my mind spinning now because
Mhm.
there's a lot of opportunities. Would you guys ever make like this list outside of Creo, or is it like is the philosophy like it's exclusive to Creo users?
What do you mean make it outside of Creo?
Like just make like a non Creo user blog post, like, hey, these are the vendors we have.
Well, actually, this came out of partially came out of the or desire from sponsors and CROs to use the Creo powered sites as a criteria, for site selection. So
Mm.
that's where this came about. And so, that's giving a list, allowing them to choose from, a list of Creo powered sites because of how much, Creo can optimize operations, trial outcomes. It sounds cliche, but this came from, sponsors and CROs wanting to select Creo powered sites.
You're
So
gonna get hit up a lot, Nikki. I
I'm
just want
happy to be hit up a lot. I would love to connect with people and discuss this if they're, interested in creating a Creo Connect profile.
I am glad I got my email in before this came out, so that we're just please, Nikki, get our companies up there. There's a few that we added. I forgot to send you Latinos in Clinical Research.
Mhm.
That's a free tool for anyone. Free monthly Zooms for people to network, not just for Latinos, but anyone else. Like we need more of this stuff. When I was
Yeah.
started out, we were looking like, where do I find sites? The only place I could go to is other investigator meetings.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
these days, you don't even have to leave your house,
Mhm.
let alone your site. This is awesome. So I like that you guys are doing this. Shout out
Really,
to Ray.
yes. I mean, he's amazing for, the entire Creo team, but just constantly every initiative, every tool, every resource is just how we're more than just, your CTMS, right? Software provider
Hmm.
solution, whatever you want to call it. We're more than that. I mean, we're supporting sites in so many different ways. And
Yeah.
this, whether it's partners program, just streamlining vendor process identification connection, if it's, helping in the site selection arena, ensuring that sites are being seen and visible to sponsors and CROs. That's, another thing. So we're more than just, a software solution for site
As we wrap
supporting.
up, everybody go connect with Nikki right now. If you're listening to the podcast later or on YouTube later, her LinkedIn is underneath this video or this podcast. What's new for what's coming up for you? Like, what conference? What where can people like find you in person? I know they can click on your LinkedIn right now.
In person, you can just send me a message and I'd be happy to try to meet with anyone. I'm based in Chicago. So I'm
You're
open to
central to
all.
everywhere. You could go to
Yeah,
any
I'm a
conference, any
Midwesterner,
conference.
so I don't know, my conference appearance schedule
Ah,
yet.
okay, okay.
I will, if you are interested in knowing, just send me a LinkedIn message and,
She will be coming to SOS in Oklahoma in April. Even if I have to fly you out myself, Nikki, you're coming.
I would love to. When the last SOS I couldn't be with, well, that was the
Yeah,
first, right? I
the
couldn't be
first,
there,
yeah.
but I was going to throw my own funds to come to SOS.
Because you weren't with Creo yet. You
Yeah,
weren't
I
with
wasn't with
Creo yet.
anyone. Yes. So I was unemployed, but my heart lives, with sites. So hopefully I'll get to be at this next one.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
And you've come full circle now because you're going to be hit up by a bunch of people and companies.
great.
Hey, Nikki, I need, I have this good service. Like I told you yesterday, ultimately it's going to have to be curated somewhat. Um,
It is
right
absolutely.
now, you're choosing the ones that you know, but at some point, because you're going to have to like limit them at some point because this could get carried away.
Yeah, but we have a qualification process in place. It's not like we're letting just anyone, right? So
Right.
in order to make a Creo powered site, their life a little easier. It has to integrate with our system somehow. That's what differentiates us, right? Creo and this
Mm,
partner directory. So it's not just any site. We have a validation, a qualification process that we go through to choose and curate this list of partners. It's not
very good.
just
Okay.
anyone.
I'm glad we brought that up because people
Yeah,
are, after this, they'll be hitting you up like, hey, I
no,
have this,
it's
let's
not.
put this
No,
in there.
this is not. The whole goal is to have vendors that can integrate with Creo. And
Gotcha. Gotcha.
yeah, so there's different qualifications for different
Ah,
categories.
okay.
And we have a list that's actually going to come out soon, defining the categories, also just showing the different qualifications so that our users can also see, how we're validating.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. Okay, everybody go connect with Nikki right now. Rising star in the space. Creo's lucky to have you. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll do
Thank
many more,
you.
many more
Yes.
pods.
Let's do it again. Thanks so
Like,
much.
subscribe, comment, share. Everybody go connect right now.